All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Justin Prince Show. Today's episode is going to help a lot of you. It's going to help people that you know that are, maybe it's a child or a coworker or a brother or sister or a parent that's struggling with addiction. And how do they get to a stage where they recognize it? What are the steps to overcome it? And then what do we do to help them to live an extraordinary life? And my buddy that you're going to hear from today has an incredible story. That this is just one of those. It's one of those stories of total defeat and then total triumph. Coming back from the biggest challenges. So, Adam Javelin, he and I actually met at a Tony Robbins Business Mastery. And it's one of those people you meet and just boom, just instantly you're like, man, we're at lunch. We're like long lost friends kind of thing. And I know him as the founder of the Hero Project, where he helps high level people to go to the next level from a coaching perspective. He's worked with athletes, has been on all of the big TV shows and so on, and big networks. But what you'll love about him is just his down to earth. He has this raw enthusiasm, but then his down to earth nature, and this incredible journey that he's been on. So, Adam Javelin, man, I am so fired up and so honored to have you on. I appreciate you making the time. I'm excited for our audience to learn from you. I love your heart, I love your passion and fire for life. So, man, thank you for being here. I'm excited to do this with you.
Bro, thanks for having me. If you remember when we connected, I saw you and I found you, and I had just watched a bit of your content that you were breaking down why Jordan was the GOAT, but how to take his philosophy and his mentalities into business. And I was in love with you. And then we bonded right off the bat.
Let's start with that. So, we had kind of an instant connection to studying greatness. In this case, one of the people we both have studied is Jordan, right?
Yeah.
I teach in my book, Be the One, I teach a 3C loop. So confidence leads to commitment. Commitment leads to competence. Competence is building your skill sets. And what Jordan did is he built skill above the talent. He had this incredible talent. That was the floor. But then he built skill above the talent with this insatiable drive to be excellent at what he did. And it's a principle that we can all learn from, to not just rely on your baseline talent. Where did your passion for studying excellence come from, and then why Jordan specifically for you?
Yeah, so I think we're the same generation. So let's start with my passion for excellence. It started with, it's the eye test. There was something magical that was happening. There was just something that I could see, be it if it was Stallone and I was a kid and I was the fat kid, or seeing Arnold, or just identifying with these great physiques that happen to be winning. So I'm actually enjoying the physiques that are winning. And at the same time, then Michael Jordan came along, and there was a flash, there was a flare. But one of the things that, let's say we could put above all of that, right, was this love of the game. Somebody that showed up every single day and wanted to be the best every single day. And it was just attractive. It was attractive. And I think we all want to be like Mike. And it took me a while to find where my love of the game was really going to fit. I was sometimes trying to fit a circle into a square peg. But when, I found recovery, I realized that I had all those same attributes.
Yeah, this attractive idea, I liken it to a magnet. So we all know that a magnet attracts, right? But what does a magnet also do? It also repels. So in other words, the tighter you build your culture, the tighter you build your principles and values, the tighter you build the culture within a team, or in this case, within a sports team or a business team, it will attract, it's magnetically pull people to you. And then it also will repel the people that maybe wouldn't be the right fit for your organization or right fit for your team. And when you watch, my girls are in drill. I have a 14 and 16-year-old daughters that are in drill. So drill is, these girls dance their little hearts out,
Yeah.
And I've been saying, and my wife's one of their assistant coaches, and I've been saying to them, I call them sisters. That's just, I go, sisters, listen. I said, you want to build a culture within the team that attracts the right girls to the team, attracts the right work ethic, and then also repels the ones that are whiners and blamers and complainers and so on. But one of the ways that you do that is when you watch Jordan, The Last Dance, his teammates said that their practices were so intense that he went so hard. Now remember, not only is he the best player on the team, not only is he the best player in the NBA, he's not only the best player in the world, he's the best player ever. The guy's the GOAT, right? I mean, particularly after you've won 3, 4, 5, and you watch him in practice, and he's outworking everybody. He's outrunning everybody. He's hitting the sprints harder than everyone else. And his teammates said the practices were so challenging that the games actually were like almost a night off. The games were easy. And I tell my girls, I say, listen, you want to work so hard in the practice, these private victories, that the public victories seem like all we have to do is 1 or 2 or 3 dances. We've been practicing that same dance 20 times in a row,
Yeah.
So that principle of excellence when it comes to the work that no one sees, Covey talks about the private victories.
Yeah.
How have you seen that with both you in your own personal life, but also these high performers that you coach? What are you teaching these people to be doing in private, to win all the private victories so that they show up, and win all the public victories?
Yeah. So one of the main things we have to do is build a system, or let's say build a schedule that's actually going to be good for them, not where it's like a to-do sheet. Because you and I, Justin, know so many people. When you're a high achiever, a to-do sheet is the greatest thing in the world, because now it's just knocking the things off. It's just and they will. They'll knock them off all day, but they're not going to put it into their heart. They're not going to put it into their soul, and therefore it's not going to become intrinsic. It won't be there on call. It'll be just a task to complete. So what I do is I really bond and get a common language with my client, right? And this is what happened with me, and try to find, where is this going to really benefit them? Where would we put in a meditation practice? Where would we put in a prayer practice? Where would we put in what they're going to do for their body? Where are we going to do what they're going to put in for their emotions? We're going to do it very diligently and very, let's just say, we're going to segment it throughout the day. I don't want this all done at once. So it's a constant reinforcement. If I can get them to love their life and love the way they're feeling and love what they're getting out of this, then at the end of the contract, it's an easy sell. It's an easy sell because they're getting everything they ever wanted.
Yeah, I love that. So walk us back through, introduce us to Adam, get us back into your childhood, and let's start to kind of figure out, where was it that the addiction started for you? What were those things that were happening in your life that led, and let's kind of get into that journey.
Yeah, so born 1976, so I'm 47 years old, grew up in New Jersey. The one thing that was weird about me as a kid was I was the fat kid. I was the heavy kid. My dad used to call me El Chubbo. Not mean, but, and I was teased a lot. There was a movie growing up called The Goonies, and this guy Chunk would do the Chunk Shuffle, and my friends would ask me to do that. And, look, it served me in a way because it gave me a very enthusiastic, class clown, kind of laugh with me, don't laugh at me type of personality. But that was also my mask and my shield because I didn't want to hurt anymore. And nobody was picking on me. It wasn't bullying. It was just constant teasing about the way I look. And I will never forget, I'm like 10 or 11 years old, Justin, and we're at a trip to Washington, D.C., and my dad asks me if I want to stay up late and watch a movie with him. These memories just burn in your consciousness. And it was Rocky 3. Remember that one? Against Mr. T. And Stallone was just shredded. And I could not, remember that attractiveness? I could not get my eyes off this guy. And I remember thinking, if I could ever look like that, all my problems would go away. All my problems would go away. Now, the problem with that is that 10-year-old boy ran my life. That decision ran my life until I was 30.
Wow.
And getting a good body does not make all your problems go away. We moved down to South Florida, and we're around 11, 12, where you could have your shirt off every day and be by the beach. And I used to go in the pool and wear a T-shirt. It would still suck to my fat. And I just remember making a decision, like, I can't do this anymore. Puberty's happening, girls are happening. And my mom starts buying me Muscle and Fitness magazine and Flex magazine and Muscular Development. I got this little weight set at the house. And it wasn't like today with, you and I could find apps and your macros and micronutrients. It wasn't nothing like that back when you and I were growing up. Yeah. But we stopped going to McDonald's. I stopped going to get a 6-piece chicken McNugget with a large Coke and fries. And it was just like grilled chicken and an apple. And in 4 short years, I went from being the fattest kid in the class to being the best built kid in the class. I went from guys being like, yo, how many Oreos do you eat? To like, yo, man, how much can you bench press? And the girls liked me, right? Now, but I was still that guy. I was still the same kind of insecure class clown, laugh with me, not at me. But with the muscles came a certain coordination and a certain skill set. And I was able to hang out with the older kids. And the older kids were experimenting. And it wasn't peer pressure or anything like that. There was just something cool always about being with the older kids. And Justin, let's go back, let's say right around early high school. If you want to hear a soundtrack to it, it's like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Dr. Dre, Snoop, you know what I mean? All I remember is they passed it. I don't know if it was a 40. I don't know if it was a Coors Light. I don't know if it was. They passed it. I drank it, and it fixed something inside. Justin, it fixed it, right? And I didn't become arrogant, and I didn't become cocky, and I didn't become macho, but confidence. Like, there was a literal detachment in my brain. I remember looking down, being like, this is my body. Those girls like me. I'm the leader. You know what I mean? Like, everything changed. Bro, everything changed. And I sought that feeling with everything I could. I was the first one in my high school to get a fake driver's license, right? It was from Iowa. It was terrible, but it worked. I went to Arizona State University because it was the #1 party school in Playboy and Penthouse magazine, which it was. And I dominated there. That feeling overtook everything in my life. I chased it.
How old were you in that first drink?
The first drink that it really, really fixed me was probably about 14, 15.
And then what was your parents, were they noticing this kind of a shift? And were they trying to say, hey, Adam, man, maybe we should kind of tone it back a little bit? Or were they trying to correct you or discipline you? Or were you able to, in essence, hide it from them? Did they not see it?
Well, I think what was happening was my grades were good enough.
You were still achieving.
Yeah, I was still achieving. I was still charismatic enough. I still had everything on the exterior to build that mask, to kind of show that everything's okay. And some of the stuff that I got away with was just kind of typical guy macho nonsense. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing anything that bad at the time. If anything that was weird, it was with what it did for me compared to what it did for other people.
So you go to college, and it sounds like it kind of just kind of took on a life of its own. Just kind of progressively was getting more frequent, and more and just bigger. At what point were you starting to say, I'm not sure this is serving me? Like, where was that happening? We're like, oh man, this is maybe not awesome anymore. Like, how is that happening?
Yeah, one of the themes that we talk about, especially when you're sober, is usually it's nothing but fun. Then up here, fun and consequences, and then in the down, nothing but consequences.
Wow.
So right in college, it was fun and consequences. Alcoholism and addiction, bro, is like a train that you hear from far, far, far away. And you hear the whistle get closer and closer and closer. And you always think that there's enough time to jump the tracks before the train comes. But before you know it, it just hits. There were a couple of episodes of just like, do you remember what you said last night? Do you remember what you did last night? That was crazy. But I think my DUI was really the one that I was like, this is an issue. This is not good.
What did you do for a career after high school or after college?
So I was in a family business. We were the #1 lace manufacturers in the world. And it was different back then growing up, bro. My parents were the best and most beautiful people, but they had made it. They made it. So it wasn't like, hey, Adam, go and see what calls you and see what you want to do. From a very young age, it was told to me, this is who we are and this is what you're going to do. So anytime I even did have a dream, I felt like I was cheating on my family. I felt like, how dare I? You know what I mean? And who could give up this opportunity? And your parents worked so hard for this, and this is who we are. And I had all those stories locked in my head. So right out of college, I went into the family business, and I started at the bottom. I mean, I worked third shift for quite a few months, janitor, Then we did janitor. I went to yarn inventory to quality control to the warping department to the clipping department, mechanic, knitter, upstairs in design, clerical work before I started making it into the board. Now, because A, my name was Jablin, so they wanted me to earn it. And B, I had to learn how every department worked. But it was good for me because what happened was I became part of rather than, oh, this is the son.
I was going to say, did you feel like you avoided some of the maybe the nepotism that would kick in and them saying, well, of course it's the boss or son kind of thing. Did you feel like you avoided that starting at the bottom, or was that just inherent because of your relationship with your parents?
I think I avoid, one of the things was my dad is a very, what do they use this word now? Alpha, you know what I mean? But like, he is a very dominating, he leads by fear. He's Michael. The truth of it is my dad's Michael.
Interesting.
And the truth of it is Michael's my favorite, but I'm Phil. I see things from a very spiritual, holistic, more natural play. I can call the play, share the ball, and I was trying to be Michael. I wanted to be Michael, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit my personality. So, that, and I still always had the thoughts, Justin, in the back of my head that, I'm Bob's son, I'm Morton's grandson, but they never treated me like that. It was the story in my own head.
Yeah.
But over years, always being the first one there, always the last one to leave, always showing up, always being kind, always being generous, asking about the men, how was their day, how are their children, getting to really know them. It became synergistic.
And do you so you're working in the family business, which
Yeah.
means you're around, in this case, around the family. You're definitely around people that know the family, right? Because we all work for the same company.
Yeah.
You're drinking. Do you feel like you're just kind of like a functional alcoholic at this point? Like, do you feel like you're able to kind of hide or mask, some of the stuff that's happening with your addiction?
Yeah, I would definitely say, if there is such a thing as a functional alcoholic, I was playing the part. They all knew I hit it pretty hard. Some of them hit it pretty hard, you know what I mean? And I was raised around heavy drinkers. There is a difference, Justin, between a heavy drinker, somebody that can drink a lot, somebody that can even almost drink every day, and an alcoholic. There is a difference. And I think they just thought I was cut from the class of the mold of work hard, play hard. But eventually, those consequences started coming on harder and harder and harder.
And how far into that working career until it was? By the way, I love that analogy. It's all fun, then it's fun and consequences, then it's just all consequences.
Yeah.
How far into that working career? How many years into that working career until it was just the consequence after consequence? Those started stacking, and to a point where you're like, man, I gotta maybe figure something out here.
Yeah. So I would say at age 28, I got sober at 30. At age 28, I would say it was really nothing but consequences, but like a good alcoholic and addict, I just had to try for 2 more years just to see if I could squeeze any last juice out of it. And then at 30, July 14th, 2006, I walked into my intervention.
I had this conversation actually on the podcast with a woman that had battled addiction. And my experience with people going through it is it's really, really challenging on the mothers. Like, challenging on the parents, both. There's something about moms that they can like almost feel with these kids, right? As the kids are going through these challenges. What was the experience you felt like your parents were having, and specifically your mom was having, as she was watching you when it was just more the consequence phase?
I think I think my parents, who can socially drink, wanted to think that it was anything but the alcohol. I think they wanted to think it was the pressure of running the business, or I was a young father, or the marriage, or they didn't want to look at what was really going on, And I think that's also probably very normal too for a mother and father. You know what I mean? Not my son. It can't be my son. He shows up at work. He did, you know what I mean? He just got the new car. So it's got to be something else.
Do you feel like that's maybe a little bit of in essence, a self-defense mechanism for a parent to just be like, almost like I don't want to own that story that my child's got an addiction issue, because now I feel like that maybe reflects poorly on me, or as on my parenting. Do you feel like does that play in that self-defense mechanism?
Yeah, I think it could be an array of things. It could be self-defense. It could be just flat out fear. Like, is this true? It could be they actually believe it. Because what's happening, think about it. What's happening when you're getting to my stage of alcoholism and addiction is you're getting a lot of consequences, which means it's starting to affect other people and other relationships. Yeah. So as a parent, it's not like everything's hunky-dory except the drinking. There are a lot of things that are happening. So it's easy to pick out, well, he fought with his wife, or this happened. It's easy to pick out the effect rather than the cause.
The cause, yeah. Did you, at age 30, was there a moment, like, was there like a rock bottom moment, or was it just at some point a series of events where you said, all right, enough is enough. I'm going to go through the intervention process and start going back up this hill.
I couldn't plan it if I tried. There was a moment. It's going to sound a little spiritual and a little crazy, but this is about 3 days before my intervention. But bro, they say, oh, how dark it is before the dawn. That is a fact. My former wife and I went out. We finally had my in-laws to watch the baby, and I took her out to lunch, and I start drinking at lunch, and we get home and we get in a fight. Never physical, but just argumentative. And when I'm drinking, I can say my feelings, and every resentment I'm holding on to, I let it out. And I go to walk our dog. On this walk, I slam 6 beers. I come back. She sees the 6 beers. She's had it, and now I just unleash hell. And I was feeling what I was saying. Like, go find somebody better. I don't care. Everything felt false. Sports felt like they were rigged. Politics are a bunch of bullshit. Is this all there is to life? I'm going to run a manufacturing plant for the rest of my life. This is it. You add another kid, you add another car. Life meant meaningless and pointless, and I didn't have God in my life at that point. And I went to, some people call it an alcoholic rage. And rage does not mean I just was angry for 2.5, 3 days. And Justin, it really felt like a possession. I kid you not. I've never even felt that anger again. And I just remember 2.5 days, 3 days later, driving home, which was the day before my intervention, and this thing lifted. I remember driving home being like, what am I so angry about? It was literally two different people. Something just lifted. I was like, why am I so angry? I went home, went to bed, crashed, woke up in the middle of the night. My former wife saw me sneak out, grab a couple of beers and some Xanax to sleep again. She had already planned an intervention, but then she knew this is the right thing. And the next day I walked into an intervention, and my whole life changed. My whole life changed.
I feel like a common journey is like, kind of I get sober, and then I kind of, I relapse, and I get sober and I relapse. Was that just bam, that one time that, just that was it, enough is enough, and then it ended there and it hasn't picked back up?
Never. Yeah, never picked back up. That, I think, kind of recovery is becoming so popular. It's not taboo anymore. Saying you're an alcoholic and an addict doesn't come with the stigma that it used to. But I also maybe think people are coming in either a little too early, or they don't dedicate the time and attention that's necessary to really get sober. But relapse is not a requirement. I hear about it a lot, to the point that people think it's common. It's just as common to stop. It's just as common to stop.
You've done a lot of work with Tony Robbins. You and I met actually at his Business Mastery event. He talks a lot about it almost, in essence, I wrote a whole chapter on updating your identity. It's almost like it's not who you are. It's not who I am anymore. Is that did you experience that? Did you experience almost either a conscious or a subconscious updated identity of I don't drink anymore. I'm just not a drinker. Did you have that, or was there something else that happened that triggered the ability to just stay away from this period?
I would say no. There was a shift in identity, but it's not that I'm not that anymore. I think it was redefining my definition. So for me, an alcoholic was a bum in the middle of Manhattan, unshaven, stinks, with a bottle in a paper bag, petting a cat that's not there, mumbling to himself. An addict was New Jack City's Pookie, like Chris Rock with a needle in his arm. So what happened was I got a real education on what alcoholism and addiction was, and then knowing what the solution is, and knowing that the solution really primarily is spiritual in nature. What happened, I would say, is saying I'm an alcoholic. It wasn't necessarily a shift in identity, other than it was an admission and not a condemnation. Right? My allergy to alcohol is like people's allergy to strawberries. I have an abnormal reaction to alcohol. They break out in hives, I break out in handcuffs. But still, at the same time, it was learning about the disease. And yes, there was a shift, but my shift was really becoming a non-believer to a believer.
So how did you shift that definition? I think that's so interesting. You almost reassociated the definition, like what it meant to you. What did you feel like you went from, and what did you go to? What was the new definition?
Yeah, so it was from an I, me, I can fight off the world, to a we. It was to a we, or to a we. And I learned about things about the disease of alcoholism and addiction. I learned that, first off, that it is a disease. It takes 4 requirements to be a disease in the medical association. You have to be progressive, over time you get worse, chronic, always there, primary, the first cause, not the second cause, and fatal. It'll kill you. You take one of those things away, you have a disorder, which is already bad enough, right? But all 4 qualifications, you have a disease. Then I started getting really humble, Justin, and it was hard. I mean, my ego was being destroyed, but I was sharing with these men and sharing with these counselors. And I remember there was a poster in the rehab: make the appropriate face with the appropriate emotion. Sad, happy, confused. Justin, I was always smiling. If I wanted to kill you, I was smiling. If I was sad, I was smiling. I mean, I was full of shit. I was a fraud. So, this process of pulling the mask off, taking the layers off, and figuring out who I really was the permission slip and the catapult to get me sober.
I just wanted to acknowledge you real quick. Number one, I just admire your willingness to be this vulnerable and to share this journey. You made a comment earlier that it's more normal now and stuff, and I agree with that. I do agree with that. But I also think it's still none of us want to share all of our, dirty laundry and that we're not being our best self. And so I'd really honor that about you, because I feel like it's so connecting. I feel like our vulnerabilities are what connect us as humans. I've been through challenges too, our struggles, that story of the struggle. But then the other thing is you have such a great way of sharing it. Just it's so raw, but it's also, you use your, the way you say it is, it kind of is light, kind of makes it feel like, okay, it's I can work through this.
Thank you.
I feel like that's one of your gifts maybe in coaching, is that you're able to identify and normalize the challenges people are facing, and then have a way for them not to beat themselves up over it, to say, hey, look, here's the plan, and here's where we're going to go next. How did you shift from the manufacturing business into the coaching business? How did that shift start happening for you?
Yeah, well, I'm going to do this for both of us, because I wonder if you feel the same way. I'm going to build a triangle here. So one was, I started going to these recovery meetings, let's say 12-step meetings, and I went every day religiously, and over, one day at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time, whatever was happening to me became contagious to other people. So I would start helping other people. And then within this community, there were a lot of big names, celebrities, NFL players, NBA players, and they loved me because of what I had, but also I didn't want anything from them. I was the fashion guy. If anything, what's really weird was they wanted something from me. So I'm helping all these people, but it's still kind of living a double life. I'm running this lace empire, and I'm helping these people, and I'm running these lace empire, and I'm helping these people. And in 2019, we decide to sell the family business. Fashion had taken a whole bunch of ups and downs. Even though we saw it, my customers did not see the power of Amazon. I was dealing with these old men, heads of companies forever, Hanes brand, Victoria's Secrets, telling them, you don't see this monster coming. This is why our inventories are going like this. And they're lecturing me. son, brick and mortar is always going to stay here. A woman is always going to want to try a bra and a panty on. We're not Zappos. We're not shoes. We're not CDs. I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Well, if you look at Victoria's Secret stock now, you can see that the kid was right. But we decided to sell. It was a blessing. My dad had his moment too. He wanted out. And Justin, I went into coaching because it was what I was kind of doing already. What I didn't know is that it was the most saturated market in the world. And thank God I didn't know at the time, or I probably wouldn't have done it. I would have had that comparison thing. But I had all these years of helping people. It was such a natural transition. What I think is interesting for guys like you and me is, now you and I have been doing this for a while, and we help people. And I see all of these people, and by the way, they could be great. It may just be my Instagram feed or Facebook or some young kid that I meet now, whatever. And they want to be a coach. And I'm thinking to myself all the time, I don't want to be a fucking coach. I am a coach. Like, I want to be Jordan. I don't want to be Phil. I am Phil. Those are my natural gifts. But I want my tongue out, 23, fade away. I want to be the star of the show. Yeah. But it's not my identity. It's not how God wired me. I'm not that guy. I want to be that. If I was a player, I'd be more like Magic. I'm not. I don't have that killer instinct. You know what I mean? That's not who I am. I see things as a coach. I see the overall play. So for me, it was like the next logical step and the next logical transition.
You mentioned God a lot. Did you raise up as a kid with God, or was that something that you found through recovery?
So my mother was a believer, a Jew from Israel. My father was let's say, an agnostic, doesn't really take it, doesn't really leave it. My great-grandfather was a very holy man. And he's somebody that had the Old Testament and the New Testament, although a Jew, and connecting all the time where Jesus fulfilled, all the prophecies, let's say, from Adam, Isaac, Moses, Abraham. He was way ahead of his time. So there was something going on around me that I think now I look back, I go, oh, it was sinking in a little bit. But for me, if you really asked me at the time about God, it annoyed me. My favorite athletes would thank God after they win catch the touchdown or knock somebody out. I was so cynical. I was like, how come you don't thank him when you miss the ball? How come you don't thank him when you get knocked out? You know what I mean? God to me really seemed like Tinkerbell. And if you just think a happy thought and a little pixie dust comes and you can fly. But when I needed him, he was there.
Yeah.
And when I needed alcoholism addiction to be removed, Justin, he was there. And that Tinkerbell thing isn't too far off.
One thing about you when I first met you is, and this goes to, I think speaks a little bit to your high performance, is you are fit. Like, it's funny when you say that you used to be the chunk from Goonies, and you obviously shifted that identity and changed that part of you, even as a young man. But you are a fit dude. I mean, you are ripped.
Thanks, so are you.
And,
so are you.
What are some of the principles that you live by from a fitness perspective? Like if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling a little softer than you want to feel, and you're just not feeling like you're really, firing in all cylinders from a health perspective, what are you telling that person when you get with them? Like, how are you helping them to shift into this new, you got what it takes to be healthy and to be lean and to be fit and to be flexible and to, have the energy that you want to have? What are you teaching those people?
So I make it really personal. First, we're going to just move every day. We're going to move every day, and we're going to see what fits. If I love the iron, but they don't, it's not going to be a natural fit. Some people are built for running. Some people are marathon runners. Some people just need to get out in Mother Nature and walk. Some people really, really do well on animal proteins, like really, really well. But there are some vegans that actually are high performers on a vegan diet because that's how it's not the mentality and the something against animals. And no, it's because their body is breaking down the macronutrients better. So we're going to find out what foods actually work with you and not work with you. And I'm not going to get crazy. I'm not going to do blood tests. We're going to just see how bloated you are, how you feel, how are you performing, how are you thinking. We're going to make it really nice and slow in the beginning, and we're not going to count calories, and we're not going to get crazy. Already, if you move a little bit more and you eat some, more nutrient-dense food, things are going to shift. This, I'm a big believer in, and we're going to drink a lot of freaking water. But before you know it, if you hang in there for 30 days, something happens. I can't explain it. I don't know if somebody's probably written a book about it. It takes this many days, but whatever. Whatever. There's a book for everything. All I know is you give me 30 days and you do it for 30 days straight and clean, you're going to want to continue. And that it's a natural build. Start with the bar, then put 10s on, then put quarters on, then put the 45s on. It's a really nice, slow, natural build. But what the best is the results. They start falling in love with the results, not with anything else.
Yeah, I love your philosophy about what diet program you're on. Are you on paleo? Are you on keto? Are you on, vegan? Are you? My friends, listen. Being around this game for, really intensely for 28 years, you do need to figure out what works best for your body, because each body is unique. Now, there's obviously some baseline principles that we maybe transfer across, but just generally speaking, our bodies are all very, very unique. And you want to figure out what foods resonate the most with you and start eliminating the ones that don't. To your point, Adam, the ones that make you feel bloated or that make you just feel like, ugh, there's some food you eat just like, oh, terrible right now. I want to start eliminating those, So I love that. And I love that such a practical way to having a plan of let's change your whole life. My friends, one of the things I would encourage you to think about is this. What if 1 year from today, right? You're at the gym right now, you're in your car, you're walking, you're doing whatever it is you're doing. 1 year from today, you make a commitment, you make a decision right now. You say, listen, 1 year from today, I'm going to give my body the gift of being in the best shape of my life. What if 1 year from today, you made a decision right now, you say, what day is it today? Okay, cool. Add a year. 1 year from today, I'm going to check in. I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. Give your body that gift, because you guys know how it is. It's like, if you have your health, you can have a million dreams. If you don't have your health, you have one dream.
I love that line.
We'll spend our entire lives to build a fortune, for example, in our businesses or careers or whatever the case might be, and we'll neglect our health, and then we'll spend every dime we've ever made trying to get it back at the end. My friends, just give yourself the gift to say, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life 1 year from today, starting now. And then, Adam, to your point, what do I need to start doing today? Maybe it's moving a little bit. Maybe it's an apple a day. Maybe it's cut out some of the sugar stuff that we've been eating or whatever. Just maybe it's just simply more water. I've always got my my water bottle with me as well. It's just there's success does leave clues. You start getting more water, more movement, cut out some sugars, and then you'll just start feeling that stuff right away. More air, breathing.
Yeah.
More. Talk to us about. I know you have an upcoming book that I'm really excited about. Talk to us about this next book and what you're excited about with it.
Yeah. So here, bro, this is. I'm glad we're bringing it up. So we signed with the publisher. It's
such an exciting time.
Yeah, Dion, the rock and roll philosopher. Conversations of Life, Recovery, Faith, and Music by Dion DiMucci and Adam Javelin. So he is a big part of my story. And in all honesty, he's actually the birth of the Hero Project. Dion is a rock and roll Hall of Fame legend. Many people know his hits from The Wanderer, Run Around Sue, Ruby Baby. That was John Lennon's favorite song, which is why he's on the cover of Sgt. Pepper. And it's a lot like, let's say, Weekend at Morty's. It's, Dion is my spiritual father. He's my mentor. He's my he's every title you can think of. He's the guy that helped get me sober and also find a spiritual way of life. And it's him passing down his knowledge to me. So it's I'm the writer, although the stories are from him. And you just see this loving father-son, man-to-man relationship of a mentor and a mentee. And it's really excited. I can't tell you how blessed we are. Bishop Barron wrote the foreword, Paul Simon, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Van Zandt, Quincy Jones, and hold on, I'm leaving somebody out that I really love and respect that I don't want to be upset. But these people, because they love Dion and they've seen him walk his way of life, and it's going to be released right around the release of his Broadway show called The Wanderer, like Jersey Boys. But what Dion's done, to have somebody like that in your life is why I do what I do. Somebody that makes you believe, somebody that makes you have faith, somebody that's always sound, someone that's gone through the trenches. He's gone through the war. He knows where the landmines are. He knows where Adam come up. Whoa, make a left. Just trust me, make a left. I would not be the man I am today without D. So I love him, and it's really exciting. I'm really, really proud of it. I'm really proud of it.
I love it. I can't wait to help you promote it and share it. And my friends, I hope you can feel Adam's energy. When I met this guy, literally, I think we met him, we were sitting there at lunch. It's just one of those things where you're in a big event, right? You just sit down and someone sits next to you, you sit next to them. It's just kind of random. And he just said,
"No, I found you."
I was going to say, this dude's like,
I saw it. Because I was watching your stuff. I was like, dude.
Yeah, he just has this lock on. There's this lock on where he's just like, these deep, sincere questions. And I hope you feel it today. I hope you feel that energy. And by the way, it's a great lesson. Listen, what energy are you going to show up with today?
Yeah.
Like when you transition home tonight, what energy are you going to show up to your spouse or to your kids? Like what energy? Like shift that energy from work and all the pressures you have and so on. And you say, I'm going to show up with some good energy. Or that next meeting you're about to walk into, how do you hit that with the right tone, the right energy, the right vibe, where you make the room better because you came? Or that next call you're about to make, that next interaction, the people are better because you came. And that's one of the Adam, it's one of your great gifts, man. You just have this amazing ability to make everyone better because you showed up. And you have this amazing ability to affect the energy of the room. You just bring a high frequency of energy, and it's what a unique and amazing gift that you have that you've really honed down over these years to transfer that into people. So I just want you to know, man, I love you, respect you, love this conversation, love the ability for you to pour into people, and so excited for this next book and for the Hero Project and all the great work you're working on.
Thank you, brother. I think but let me just at least pass it back. I feel the same way about you. I have 3 copies of Be the One over there. I do hand them out to certain clients, especially my high achieving clients, by the way. And I love the book. You saw me texting you when it was released. I was posting on my stories and everything. So, sometimes you get blessed in this world that you get to meet a brother along the way.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Well, brother, I love you, man. Guys, make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.